Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Nature Obscura, a podcast where nature and the supernatural collide. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Grace. Each week, we share spooky happenings from the great outdoors, from cryptids to curses, ghosts to witches, and everything in between.
Now, while we love a haunted house or a scary hospital story, that's not what we're here for. We're taking you around the globe to explore where nature and the supernatural intersect.
And at the beginning of each episode, we're going to briefly share any spooky or nature encounters we've had over the past week before getting into some natural history and background, and then the main story.
So, Grace, what have you been up to this past week-ish?
So this past week for Migratory Bird Day, I got to go to a nature center where I got to help with a friend to educate about birds and their nests and how little baby birds need help sometimes, but other times they don't. And talking to little kids, it was so cute. There was one kid that just took the container of eggs and was starting to shake it. And the mom was like, no, that's glass, that's glass. And then there was the same group of kids. Another kid came and grabbed like two of the nests, started flinging them up. I was like, ah. But
What? That's crazy.
I know, but the mom was like, or like the guardian was very like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like those kids were crazy.
Oh my
But
goodness. That's
yeah, it
funny.
was really fun. We did end up getting rained out, but yeah, it was okay. We were ready. You can only talk about birds so much, you know?
That's
Even
very
coming
true.
from me, that's weird.
That is, yeah, that's a lot of bird talk for you to get tired
Mhm.
of. Yeah, I have just been working birds, a lot of birds. We're at a 200% increase from the week before this week for
Jesus.
admits. So it's definitely baby season. Make sure to check for nests before you trim trees or trim bushes. And yeah,
It's
learn
your
the
little
different natural life
PSA.
stages of birds. Yes. No more admits, please. Yeah, no, it's been going well. And we also were able to do something spooky. We went to the UFO conference, the Swamp Gas conference, which was really
Totally forgot
cool.
about that too.
And it actually inspired us to do today's episode. So, very much looking forward to that. Today, we're talking about the 1994 UFO sightings that over 300 witnesses saw in West Michigan. And we have some inside scoop because we listened to a lecture from the National Weather Service radar operator that night and got some cool info.
Marissa, this is gonna be so fun to get into because at the conference, the weatherman, he went into depth on like radar and how he was able to detect whatever was on there, but he didn't go into actually what happened as much. So I'm really curious. I want to hear more of the people's firsthand accounts and all of that. But before that, I also don't want to gloss over the fact that we also heard a lecture from somebody who I'll put in quotes claims that they've been abducted by aliens their entire life and that their first memory was of an alien peering into their crib. Marissa, what was your impression on that?
Okay, honestly, I was pretty skeptical going into it, but they seem to be recounting from memory. Like, I don't know. It didn't seem like they were a liar, but it's also just such a hard thing to like grasp your mind around. And yeah, I don't know. What were your thoughts? I was pleasantly surprised. I'll say that. Like I thought they spoke with credibility, but I don't know.
Yeah, I actually had the same reaction. But then when she started talking, I was like, "Oh my gosh, like this she actually believes this." And she had so many stories, and I feel like she was even vague enough on some parts where she's like, "I don't really wanna talk about that," or "I don't wanna go into detail on that," where she seemed genuinely scared and emotional in a lot of these stories. So I kinda believed her, and then whenever I got home after the conference that night, I was laying on the couch with my baby, and honestly, I was, like, kinda tweaking a bit. I was like, "The aliens could be right behind me, and I wouldn't know it." And Like, all of the lights are out, and we were just laying on the couch because she wasn't able to sleep, and I swear every time I thought of, "Oh, what if there's an alien behind me?" I would hear, like, a sound in the house, and I'd be
Oh,
like,
no.
"Oh my god, they're trying to contact me or they're trying to, like, scare me," because the lady said that, like, people who are in her life have, like, encounters as well, and I was like, "Oh, they followed me home."
I
I
am
was
in
so
her
scared for a
life.
sec. Yeah, and I was like, "I don't wanna see aliens, please, no."
She used the bathroom stall right after me, the same one. I was like, "They're
So
gonna get
true, she
me."
did. I didn't realize that you noticed that too.
Oh my gosh.
That's so
But yeah,
funny.
I've never listened to too many, like, alien abduction stories from people, but I will say, I mean, she was a very good presenter, and she laid out the information in a way that I feel like wasn't really, like, exaggerating. She was very matter of fact in her retelling of her experiences, as well as the fact that, she wasn't the only one that experienced this. People around her have experienced it as well. It was really intriguing.
Mhm. I like to think that everything she said was true, and if it is true, I mean, it's really interesting and fascinating to think that, like, aliens are taking people for what she would say was, like, breeding and just research, but also
It's
that they're
horrifying.
watching her constantly,
Yeah.
and that's scary. And the freezing, she said that, like, sometimes people would freeze,
Yeah,
and
that's
then they'd be
scary.
kind of groggy afterwards. That was pretty crazy. That's like a
I
movie.
no, it is. On the way home, I was like, "Man, I kinda wish I would have asked her if she knew anything about them, like, taking other species up."
Yes. Ugh.
Because again, we're not the most important. Why are they so interested in just us?
Wait, what's his name? What's our little alien name?
Paul?
No, the other one. The Dover demon one.
Oh, Steven.
Yes, it's like Steven, the alien who
Yeah.
just wants to collect samples of salamanders and frogs.
What if there's a nice alien like Steven who just wants to collect samples of like salamanders, but then there's the mean ones because that are abducting humans and breeding
Mhm.
them? Like, that's pretty gross.
Yeah. Well, remember how she'd even said how there were, like, footmen basically doing all of the little work. Those are the basic little aliens that you see, and then
Yeah.
there's taller ones that are a level above them that are, like, middle management or supervisors,
Mm.
and then, like, the big boss guy was, like, a mantis of some
Yeah,
kind?
they look like praying mantises. Oh. Speaking of which, I have an egg sack of praying mantis eggs that I need to take care of.
No way, really?
Yeah, Cody's uncle, brought 'em to the house, and he was like, "Hatch these." But, yeah, I guess anywhere from 40 to 300 mantises are gonna pop out of it in, like, 6 weeks, so we'll
That's
see.
crazy. I was just doing research on mantis eggs the other day
Really?
because I was like, "I want one."
Do you want this egg sack? I have to give some back to him because he wants it for his garden, but
Yeah, are they native? Like,
they're not. So that's why he took it, because 'cause they're not native, but I guess they're also beneficial to gardens. I think it might
I have
be.
heard that.
Yeah, it might be a they're not native, but they're not invasive
Yeah, that makes
situation.
sense. Yeah.
I
Hmm.
love a praying mantis. Um, I need to I'm making a note for myself because I keep forgetting.
Okay, and I'm gonna make a note that I need to do research and see if I could potentially care for a praying mantis because I want one.
If you can care for those little tiny salamanders you have, you're good.
Yeah.
It said, like, fruit flies, and I was like, "Ugh, I don't really feel like getting fruit flies." Like, when they're really young, like, the little fruit flies to catch,
Yeah.
but I wonder if you could do, like, bloodworms.
I don't know.
Just, like, frozen thawed bloodworms, maybe?
I feel like they'd almost need something that moves though.
That's true, yeah.
Unless you're dangling it in front of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I've only ever had grown mantises, but
Mm.
they're fun. But yeah, it's warming up. More birds are coming through. Seeing some warblers, which is really exciting. I'm excited to go birding in a couple weeks and trying to just go birding more. I went birding yesterday for a bit, and that was nice. How was your Mother's Day? What'd you do?
We went bird watching.
Perfect. What'd you
Yeah.
see?
Okay, so bird watching with my family. Now that I have a child, it's not really the same kind of bird watching anymore. It's like, "Oh, I see a bird. I don't really have time, or I can't put up my binoculars because I have a baby in my arms." So I would say the coolest thing we saw was a rose-breasted grosbeak. It was actually on the boardwalk where that rookery is of great blue herons.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, which is the first time I'd seen one on that boardwalk. It was hopping on the railing. So
That's neat.
cute. Yeah.
I don't see them too often, so that's awesome.
Mhm. What's the coolest bird that you've seen this year so far?
Um, well, actually yesterday when I was at a international wildlife refuge, I saw 10 Baltimore Orioles, and I've never seen that many
Really?
Baltimore Orioles before.
I realized that I totally skipped over the fact that you asked how Mother's Day was, and then I just started talking about birds. Um, but other than the birds, Mother's Day was really good. Yeah. I feel
Awesome.
appreciated as a mom, so
That's nice. Glad you had fun.
for today's episode, we will be exploring one of Michigan's biggest mysteries, which briefly takes place over one of the five Great Lakes of North America, Lake Michigan. So I hope you are all ready to learn all about it. The name itself comes from the Ojibwa word Michigami, meaning large lake, stretching across 22,300 square miles and reaching depths of 923 feet. Lake Michigan is a massive expanse of water that has witnessed centuries of shipwrecks and unexplained phenomena. And it even has a vast reef system.
Hmm,
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I didn't know that reefs could be in fresh water.
I didn't either. Now I wanna take a peek. I wanna
Yeah.
take a dive.
Yes, let's take a deep dive and learn exactly how the lake was formed. The story begins 1.2 billion years ago, when tectonic plates and volcanic eruptions were scorching the earth. This intense activity created the mid continent rift, a moment when North America essentially tried to rip itself apart. While the continent ultimately stayed together, the rift left behind a deep valley of soft sandstone and shale. Fast forward to roughly 15,000 years ago during the last ice age, a mile thick glacier sat atop the region. Following that ancient path of least resistance, the ice gouged out the basin. When the glaciers finally melted, they filled the giant depression, and Lake Michigan as we know it was born. The glaciers also left behind the raw material for the massive sand dunes that now line the coast. Driven by prevailing westerly winds, these sands created the world's largest freshwater dune system. To give you an idea of the sheer scale, the tallest dune at Empire Bluff in Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore reaches 526 feet above the water. And these aren't all just mounds of sand, they're actually living ecosystems. They're often anchored by marram grass, a hardy beach grass that holds the sand in place, which allows juniper, white pine, and cottonwood trees to take root in the sand. All of these plants provide shelter for a wide variety of wildlife, like the Fowler's toad, a true dune specialist. They burrow into the cool sand to escape the hot sun. And the hognose snake, with their upturned snout that's designed for digging into loose, sandy soil to find toads. And there are so many more, but I'll leave it for now with the adorably cute and endangered piping plover, which, for those who don't know, it is a bird. The piping plover is a true specialist of this sandy environment. Their unique markings, which is a single black neck band and a dark stripe across the forehead, complement a pale, sand colored back that makes them nearly invisible against the shore. They nest on cobblestone beaches and open dunes, where their plumage provides near perfect camouflage against the sun bleached stones. However, this specialized lifestyle has made them incredibly vulnerable to habitat loss, rising water levels, and human disturbance. Marissa, have you ever seen one of these?
I think I have. I think I actually did see one on the, West Michigan coast. It was a shorebird that wasn't a killdeer that had bands on it. So I kinda think it was a piping plover. And it did when I was doing, like, a quick look through of, "Oh, what other shorebirds could it be?" I do think it was a piping plover. But I don't feel
Yeah.
100% confident. What about you?
Yeah, these birds are so hard, shorebirds in general, but I don't think I've seen one. I almost want to say I have just because I've seen a lot of shorebirds, but I don't specifically remember a moment where I was really excited about seeing a piping plover because I pretty much know the first time I see any bird, like where I was and everything, but
Right.
I can't remember it for this one. So I'm assuming I haven't seen it. You've been to Sleeping Bear Dunes, right?
Yes, yeah. Love Sleeping Bear Dunes, love that area. I do see toads out there. I've never seen a hognose snake in Michigan, unfortunately. I've only ever seen it in Ohio, but I do know
Really?
they're there,
They're
just
hiding in
not
the
where I can
sand.
find them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love hognose snakes. They're so
You've seen one of
dramatic.
those toads? That's so cool.
Yeah, they look very, very similar to an American toad, except that, Fowler's toads have more spotting, like more warts than the
That would make
American.
sense. Yeah. That's cool. A lot of cool wildlife here. Now that we've explored the history of the coastline and the life that clings to its shifting sands, it's time to look beneath the surface and uncover the depths of Lake Michigan. The water often appears serene, a calm place to relax and find Petoskey stones, which are fossilized coral from 350 million years ago. But the lake can also be breathtaking. The Great Lakes Storm of 1913, infamously known as the White Hurricane, proved just how volatile these waters can be, bringing 90 miles per hour winds and 35-foot waves that claimed over 250 lives and sank 12 ships in just a matter of days. Today, nearly 35% of the 8,000 estimated shipwrecks in the combined Great Lakes rest in the deep, cold graveyard of Lake Michigan. Because the deep waters are so cold and lack the salt found in oceans, many of these ships remain eerily intact, serving as perfectly preserved time capsules on the lake floor. Fun fact for you: the first person to reach the bottom of Lake Michigan was J. Val Klump, a scientist at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, in 1985. He reached the bottom via submersible as part of a research expedition. Descending into the cold, you'll find a resilient world of aquatic wildlife. Historically, these deep waters were the domain of massive lake sturgeon, ancient giants that can live for over a century. Alongside them, lake trout, lake whitefish, yellow perch, and the muskellunge. Muskellunge. Muskellunge.
Wow, I've never heard of that.
Yeah,
Muskellunge.
I know. I hadn't either, so I looked up a picture. That's that middle photo. Look at the teeth that they have, Marissa. It's kind of hard to see in the picture, but I wanted to give you the sheer scale, which is feet long. And then, oh god, what happened
Is
here?
that a vampire or is that a fish? Why does it have fangs? Like,
I know, and these live in the lake.
oh
I
my
never knew
gosh.
something like that was in the lake. But
Creepy.
yeah, I also added a few other pictures of like the lake sturgeon and the burbot, which I'm about to get into. In the rockier crevices, the eel like burbot and gold eyed walleye still patrol the bottom, while rusty crayfish scurry among the debris. However, this ecosystem was shattered in the early 20th century. The arrival of the parasitic sea lamprey decimated the lake's top predators, leaving the door wide open for the alewife, which is a mere 6 inches and the most basic looking fish you've ever seen. But
Truly.
yes, just a silverfish, small. This invaded in 1949. And without enough predators to keep them in check, the alewives exploded in populations and eventually accounted for a staggering 80% of Lake Michigan's entire biomass at one point.
Wow,
So,
I'd never heard of the alewife before. I mean, I know the sea lamprey, but I never knew that.
yeah, I didn't either. It's incredible. The lake floor saw its own invasion with zebra and quagga mussels. These bottom dwellers filtered the lake's nutrients so aggressively that they physically altered the water's chemistry. While this has made Lake Michigan appear deceptively clear and beautiful to us, that clarity is actually a haunting sign of a starving ecosystem as the nutrients are stripped away from native species. This then impacts the plants that call this lake home. There's the stonewort, which actually isn't a plant, but a highly adapted form of green algae, the water celery, which is often referred to as duck candy, and coontail, which doesn't have true roots. It actually just floats. So all of these are being affected because of these invasive species.
That is really insane, and something like zebra mussels I haven't actually heard of the quagga mussels, but the zebra mussels are just rampant, not only in Lake Michigan, but even just in our local streams, creeks, and rivers now, where in the past years, Claire, she's super into mussels, like, we'd go musseling, I think is something she still does,
I love
and
that.
90% of the time when you find the mussels, it's zebra mussels, just all invasive. You barely ever find native mussels, and it's really
Yeah.
decimating those populations. And that's just like a species that isn't studied enough as is anyway.
Hmm.
Um, so
No, yeah, exactly. And I've never actually tried to ID the mussels on a lake shore, but now
it's
I
hard.
feel like I really want to just to see how many are invasive.
Oh my gosh. It's okay. It's insane, first of all, because they have like lips and mouths and stuff that you have to make sense of.
No, yeah, I remember Claire going over some of these things with me last year at the big
Uh,
birding day.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like there's so much.
No, for real.
And
It's
she knows
crazy.
a lot. I was really impressed. All right, so now that we have a better understanding of the deep waters of Lake Michigan, I'm going to hand it over to Marissa, and I hope you tell us all about these strange events.
Over 300 residents in western Michigan in March of 1994 spotted something unbelievable. 3 to 4 UFOs that spent a better part of a cold night going at least 72,000 miles per hour.
Did it actually go that fast?
Yeah, so that was tracked on the weather radar.
I don't remember him saying that, or I didn't hear him say that.
So, Jack Bouchon, a 29-year-old meteorologist with the National Weather Service, is a particularly compelling witness to this event. On the night of March 8th, the temperatures were about 20 degrees Fahrenheit and there was clear visibility of about 80 miles. Jack was working alone that night, which was not unusual, and he was anticipating it to be an uneventful night due to the lack of weather on the radar. So, no impending storms, no bad weather, it's going to be a pretty slow night. Or so he thought. It was about 9 p.m. at night when a resident looked outside and saw such a bright light. She originally thought it was the moon, when all of a sudden she realized there was 4 of them. You guys, Earth only has one moon. This is crazy. The lights were stationary and in a straight line, just above the treetops in her backyard. The lights moved in formation when the one on the far right started to slowly move away from the others before shooting off faster than anything she had ever seen before. The lights were so bright, she was never able to make out anything more due to the brightness. She observed the lights for nearly a half hour. Despite how close they were, there was no sound from the UFOs, and her horse that was in the field that they were hovering above seemed to not even realize they were there. They were just grazing and minding their business. At about 9:30, another witness, Holly Graves, recounts a similar experience. A mom of 2 was in bed with her husband when her kid started screaming, "Come here, you've got to see this." They're already in bed for the night. They don't want to be bothered with it, but they eventually begrudgingly get up because their kids just kept yelling to come see whatever they were talking about. They walk out into the living room and it was illuminated as if there was a giant spotlight shining into the room. Holly, the mother, called the emergency line to ask if they had any calls about this, recounting how strange it was and how it appeared almost like a string of lights. The family moved outside to get a closer look. Love that. They were scared. They're just like, let's go outside, get a closer look.
You'd think the
Look.
parents would be like, "Kids, stay inside."
Yeah, no, this was a family affair. She's like, you guys woke us up for this, got us out of bed for this. We're seeing it through as a family, which respect.
Yeah.
When they were outside, they realized that the lights were only roughly 300 feet away and were moving slowly. Not like a plane, not like a blimp. It wasn't like anything she had ever seen. It was cylindrical in shape, with lights around the outside beaming down. They stood outside for 20 minutes when Officer Benthouse made his way to the residence. Benthouse was skeptical when he was met outside by Holly Graves and her husband. He saw 2 lights that were consistent with an aircraft that went from white to green. However, as he watched them, the aircraft had moved in a way that was unlike anything he'd seen. All of a sudden, that single light that he had observed broke into 5 separate lights in an
That would be
instant.
so alarming.
and then it disappeared. As Officer Van House was trying to figure out the lights, more calls came into emergency dispatch. They were consistently describing four lights moving in strange motions, incredibly fast, shooting off, and some moving in circular directions or motions. The four lights would come together and split apart. What aircraft could do that?
Yeah, and drones can't weren't even a thing.
No. At 10 p.m., Jack Pouchon got a call from Ottawa County 911 requesting their radar access and seeing if they were seeing anything abnormal on the radar, particularly near Holland area. At that time, they had already gotten around 60 UFO calls.
Do you still have your
Jack thought,
script?
oh my gosh, yes, it's in my car. Is there
Oh
any
my
good
god.
parts we should reenact?
I know, I was thinking, I'm like, I actually haven't gone through it since that day.
So, one cool thing about the conference we attended where Jack Bouchon presented, we got the full transcript of Jack Bouchon's 911 calls with the dispatcher, which was really cool. And he had them numbered. So then he would talk about on the presentation, those slides would then be numbered, and he would explain exactly what he was seeing on the radar and how he was able to discern that. It was really interesting.
Yeah, and he went through it, and yeah, you could tell he put a lot of time into this.
He did. Jack's thoughts were, quote, "Oh, geez," but he wanted to take a closer look. As a meteorologist, he has rigorous training on how to read the radar as well as look out for any abnormalities. I thought he did a really good job of explaining this during the lecture, where he's like, where he said, I've been doing this for, I mean, at that point it was 4 years, but he had a nearly 30-year career with the National Weather Service and he had never seen anything like it since. He knew what he was looking at and it wasn't a aircraft or something else.
And what really stood out to me was he went through all of the different theories, like, people have said this and that, and he kind of with his radar detecting science, he kind of disproved all of them, which was really cool, and he truly believed it, like, this impacted his life and career.
It did, and he kept it very factual. He didn't get into aliens and this and that, but he kept it to what he saw, and he knew it was unlike anything he'd seen on his radars before, which I think is really reliable and is not something you see very often with UFO sightings. You don't get independent radar systems, actual evidence of these.
Yeah, and he said nowadays that the radars aren't manual, so you can't even move them anymore on your own if you wanted to, so you would be completely missing something like this nowadays.
Oh, I missed that part. That's crazy.
Yeah, they're all automatic now.
At first, Jack did assume it was aircraft of about 6,000 feet. It was near South Haven and moving west, looking like a big blob on the radar, and then it held steady. For about 15 seconds, it stopped and hovered, which was extremely unusual. Jack at that point thought maybe it was a blimp or balloon, but again, dead of winter at night, that's out of the norm. It then suddenly moved to about 12,000 feet. And after that, it seemed like the whole radar went crazy. The single blob, had turned into three blobs or lights with three high returns, indicating something large and solid. Not rain, not any sort of ground clutter, especially with how elevated and how directly up that radar was pointing. You're not going to get ground clutter at 12,000 and above feet. It was something reflective and highly metal. He could discern that from the returns. It looked like a triangle in his scope. The northernmost light would jump nearly 20 miles when the other two would jump the same and reform this weird triangular formation. Nothing like that in nature would replicate this like strange follow the leader sort of
That was
formation.
very weird, yeah.
They ended up moving towards the center of Lake Michigan towards Chicago, still in that triangular formation. Once it got to that point, it stayed there for roughly 3 hours. They were going from 4 to 5,000 feet in elevation to as high as 55,000 feet in elevation in a matter of seconds. Something our military aircraft or any man made aircraft would be it would be impossible for them to do. Something else that I thought was interesting in the lecture we attended was that Jack not only highlighted his obviously National Weather Service experience, but also his fascination and love for aircraft and how he also learned specifically just because of his love for flights and travel, like air travel, learning how to ID those. So he might have even had more experience than the standard National Weather Serviceman on detecting those through radar and understanding the nuances of differences.
This is really exciting, especially because like, we did get, like, an insider's view to the story and, like, him.
Yeah. Later on, Jack discovered that where they were hovering for such a long period of time, those nearly 3 hours, was weirdly the only area of the lake not completely covered in ice. They had been hovering over that open water, and it was acting as sort of a rendezvous point where other objects came and went during that time. One by one, they eventually faded and disappeared.
Did they
And
go into the lake?
no, they didn't. He didn't say that. They just disappeared.
Hmm.
But they probably did because, as we now know, aliens have, like, dock stations for their UFOs in underwater. They have to. So,
Just gotta get the big net out, which honestly is the
exactly.
solution for all of the alien things we've had so far. It's just a big net.
That's true. What if aliens are the cause of the microplastics?
My
I'm
god.
joking. It's us.
No. They just brought the zebra mussels. They're like,
They
"Here."
brought the alefish. They're like, "This'll distract them."
Right. Oh.
Headlines started flooding the area after this event, popping across the news with witnesses doing interviews and filling the newspapers. 42 out of the 82 counties in Michigan had UFO sightings that night. Investigations were done by the Michigan MUFON, the largest civilian science UFO research group. Around 20 to 30 witnesses were actually interviewed and put into separate rooms where they wrote out their testimonies, including drawings of what they encountered. Jack, as a scientist, did not want to be seen as a UFO guy. At this point, Jack was told not to do interviews or to talk to anybody. His coworkers had actually covered the office in hanging DIY UFOs with paper plates together, mocking the incident.
Aw, did you, like, read that online somewhere?
It was in the Unsolved Mysteries episode.
That's so sad because he did not mention that in
He did
person.
not mention that. That hurt. That was
Yeah.
rude.
Oh,
Mean.
he tries not to think about it.
Yeah. So to continue his career, he decided it was the best thing for him to move out of Michigan.
Whenever he was answering questions, it almost kinda seemed like he said that the weather service was so embarrassed by him that they moved him. What was it, Oklahoma? Or where did they move him?
Georgia.
Georgia. They actually just relocated him because they didn't wanna deal with him anymore in that location.
Yeah, kind of the vibe and yeah, from what he was saying at the conference as well as in the Unexplained Mysteries episode, it was kind of like if you wanna have a longer career at the center and, like, get some distance, if you wanna, like, advance, his superiors and others were kinda telling him, "You need to get out of Michigan for that,"
Which
to
is
kind of
just
distance
sad.
himself. Yeah.
And I don't know if you go into it, like, about his managers, what he was
I
saying.
don't really. Do you wanna tell them a little bit about that?
In the presentation, it was brought up that going on the record, his manager had said that, oh, he didn't believe that it was aliens, but then in private, he would tell him, like, "Yeah, I think it's aliens, um, and I can't say that out loud."
You know, he has to have his official weather service stance, but that there are unexplained things they see, but to keep their jobs, it's not something that they can really talk about.
That was way more better said than me.
You helped log it in my brain because I wasn't even gonna attempt to say it. That's why I had you do it. I was like,
You
"How
did
do I
good.
word that?"
Just like, how do I even say what I'm thinking right now when it's everywhere at the same time? Like,
Now, over 3 decades later, he is more open to talking about what he saw that night. He was also finally able to meet up with Michigan MUFON investigator Virginia Tilley after years of them being unable to connect due to his job. Virginia apparently had tried to reach out to him through other avenues, through like his work and stuff, and they would tell her that he was unavailable, and he had never known that she had tried to reach out to him. So they were keeping it secret from him that they were trying to investigate this outside of the
Which
National Weather Service.
which makes it even more spooky in a way.
After Jack was able to connect with MUFON investigator Virginia, he became particularly interested in an encounter two witnesses had that coincided what he was detecting on the radar. Their story is as follows. A couple had a view of Lake Michigan, and their encounter was one of the most unusual things seasoned investigator Virginia had ever heard. The young couple was out camping when they were awoken after midnight and observed a tall tower of water that was nearly 20 feet wide. It was described as like a waterfall and went above as high as what appeared to be the sky. It was lit from within and above, like a white waterfall. This corresponded with Jack's observations on the radar during that time, with the objects hovering above the water at about 6,000 feet in elevation.
Yeah. But where was the water coming from? It was
The
coming from
lake. It was
the
like it was
it was
creating
going
this
up?
weird waterfall vortex. Yeah, it was going up, and there was lights in it.
They're stealing our water
They're taking our
for
water.
research.
So creepy.
They're trying to take out the invasive species.
They're actually trying to help.
Right.
Jack later met with Holly Graves, the mom of two we talked about earlier, and Officer Venthouse. And their witness accounts, again, corresponded directly with what he was seeing on the radar. When Grace and I attended a talk from Jack Bouchon at the at the Swampcast conference a few weeks ago, or maybe just last week, because time is a weird concept, we were able to get a deep dive into the science behind the radars, the validity of the findings, as well as, again, like we mentioned, the complete transcript of Jack Bouchon's correspondence with the 911 dispatchers. How cool. So, skeptics may try to explain away what was seen by hundreds that cold March night, including what Jack had seen on the weather radar. One commonly is misidentification of what was seen on that radar, which Jack readily rules out, and with ample evidence. Both a lifelong weather observer learning to read weather maps at the age of just 6, he also had a love of aircraft and gotten proficient at identifying how an ordinary aircraft presents as well on radar as well as other anomalies.
And didn't he say that there are no pictures of this either?
Unfortunately, they're not, which is a
Yeah.
bummer. I don't recall if he said they normally did keep records or
I
they
think it
weren't
was, like,
able to
the
take
year
photos.
after they started
Oh, it
recording it or
was.
something
It
like
was,
that.
yes, it was literally 1995. Sucks. In 1994, Jack was already 4 years into his career at the National Weather Service and had extensive experience identifying anomalous propagation, or AP, which can include things like ground clutter, such as bird migration, fireworks, and similar. He also emphasized that it couldn't have been an illusion due to the mixing of hot and cold air, like some YouTubers suggest, with it being a cold and clear night that night. The radar wouldn't pick up if it were northern lights or swamp gas. So let's just rule that out. That's not even going to show up on a radar. He didn't suspect it was military either for a number of reasons. That is another very common theory. It's like, okay, it wasn't UFOs. We know it wasn't lights because it was picked up on the radar, but it was the military. Though Jack Bouchon received training on military jamming and what that would look like, which did not match what he was seeing on his radar. Further, even if we were to believe it were just some advanced military aircraft that was top secret, they'd be very unlikely to do flying of these aircraft in a crowded airspace, with countless flights coming in and out of the very nearby Chicago O'Hare Airport across from Lake Michigan. Not to mention that these unidentified aircraft were flying dangerously, elevating and dropping and moving at high speeds erratically.
Yeah, you said something 1,000 miles per hour?
Yeah,
There's no
I,
way, we don't have that.
I wouldn't think so. No way. Two pilots who did not want to have their official names made public had observations of the USOs as they descended into Chicago O'Hare that night. Maybe one day they will come forward to further corroborate Jack's radar findings. As for Jack, he mentioned that he didn't talk much about it during his career due to his dedication with the National Weather Service and fear of losing his career. But now that he's retired, he says he doesn't care. He does not and will not make money of him talking about what he saw. He just wants to make others aware.
Yeah, and he was very passionate the entire time. And he spent a lot of time thinking about this.
He did. And I admire him not wanting to accept money for it either. It's not a cash grab, it's him genuinely believing what he saw and wanting to tell others about it.
Mhm. Yeah, it was cool.
So,
Um,
that was that was it. I don't have a good ending sentence, but, we believe you, Jack. Thanks for a great lecture.
"We believe in you, man.
We
Keep
believe
up the
you.
great work."
What's a quote from the Titanic? Is there anything funny, like, any fun Titanic quotes? Because his name was Jack.
Oh my
"Hold
god,
on,
you're right.
Jack."
I'll never
That's not
let go.
really
No, that doesn't make
no,
sense.
doesn't make sense.
"Jack, I'm flying.
"I'm flying like you're on can you see me on your weather radar, Jack?"
Draw me like one of your weather radars."
"Yeah, draw me like one of your weather radar signals."
Oh my god. Yeah, I think we gotta keep all of that. Oh, okay, so thinking of the scare scale after that one, let's do the scare scale here. Think of it like this. You see these lights, they're shining into your home, illuminating everything. You go outside, the lights are about 300 feet away, and you're with your family in that moment. Let's do a scale 1 out of 10. 1, ups. 1 is mildly unsettling, but you can shrug it off. 5, a really cool story that gives people chills and you're kind of confused and you maybe think it's something that could have hurt you, but probably not. 10 is the kind of scary that has you question your very existence and you think about it at least a few times a week for the rest of your life because it scared the crap out of you.
I have to go with the 6 because I know I should be more scared than I am, but I think my first instinct would be awe and not fear.
That's a good point.
Like, I would talk about it for the rest of my life, but I don't know if I would inherently be scared. I know I would be like the family and go out on my front lawn
Well,
and
that was
look.
my next question. Would you stay inside or go outside? And now I know.
Yeah, I would go outside for sure.
I think I would stay inside.
Really?
Yeah, I think it'd be like a 7 for me for the same reasons, really. Just like you're
Yeah,
in awe, but also like you're scared because you don't really know what that is or what's going on.
it's true.
Yeah. Would you like keep I could see you go outside and you just start like running towards the light.
Running towards the light, and I wanna do that.
You like have your
Um,
hand out. You're like,
yeah,
"Ah."
I would try and take photos. Actually, I would immediately do live investigative report journaling and start
Yes.
recording.
It would all
Um,
be so bright.
yeah.
You wouldn't be able to see anything.
My, like, iPhone 4, it's, like, all distorted, you can't see anything well anyways, then no one believes me.
Right. What if you saw the waterfall? What would your scare scale be on that one? And it's not even like it's just a random waterfall and it's going up, you said?
Yeah, that honestly, like, a 8 or 9. That seems scarier to me because it's actually manipulating or interacting with the environment. That just
Yeah,
would be
and
scarier to see.
didn't you say that the light was illuminating it too?
Yeah,
That
it
is
was a
scarier.
glowing waterfall in the middle of a lake in the
Yeah.
middle of winter past midnight.
It's like I know there was no waterfall there.
No,
And then like you wake
defying
up the next
logic.
morning, you're like, "Did you see that too?" Or like, "Did you have the
Right.
same dream as me?"
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the couple immediately packed up their stuff and left. They're like, "Not for me."
Yeah,
I would
I
too,
would too.
probably.
Yeah, that's definitely an 8 or 9 for me.
We were joking about aliens using lakes as, like, underwater UFO, like, holding anchors. That's not what it's called, anchor? Is it? No. Hanger. And
Hmm.
this conference just when I walked away from it, it just made me believe that we were actually right.
Yeah.
Between this as well as the, swamp gas event of 1966 where they said they saw it hovering and I think even descending into the lake
Yeah.
at one point, so
I'm convinced through and through that this is aliens and because there's no other explanation really.
and to circle back, actually, I wanted to bring it back to our very first episode, Dogman. The sightings of Dogman increased in 1994 right after this happened. Were they
What?
just zooping up Dogman or zooping down Dogman in and out? And then all of a sudden they're popping up on the bluffs and everything?
That's gotta be it. Yeah.
I mean, what else?
Coincidence?
I think not. There's no such thing.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Nature Obscura. Have you detected a UFO on your weather radar system? Let us know.
Stay obscure, Earthlings.
Transmission ending.